Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CRISC Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. Developing an effective risk treatment plan is a collaborative process, one where the responsibility for action is shared but clearly assigned. While CRISC professionals bring the structure, tools, and facilitation needed to guide the planning session, the risk owner must ultimately drive the outcome. That is because the risk owner is accountable for managing the risk, making decisions about acceptable exposure, and ensuring the right steps are taken to reduce or accept residual risk. CRISC professionals can support the process, recommend responses, and structure the documentation, but they cannot own the risk or authorize trade-offs on behalf of the business. When ownership is vague or left unassigned, treatment stalls and risks remain unresolved. On the exam, a common scenario involves plans that fail to progress due to missing ownership. The best answers always reinforce that responsibility rests with the business, and CRISC facilitates, not substitutes, that accountability. A well-built risk treatment plan has several key components that make it both actionable and auditable. It begins with a clear risk description, including its origin, context, and classification. The treatment plan must then state which option has been selected, accept, mitigate, transfer, or avoid, and provide the rationale for that choice. From there, the plan outlines specific actions that will be taken, including control implementations, process modifications, or risk transfers, such as insurance. It must assign roles and responsibilities, including the risk owner, the control owner, and any contributors involved in executing the steps. Timelines and milestones must be defined to track progress, and expected residual risk must be forecasted to determine whether the plan will bring exposure within defined tolerance. Lastly, the plan must specify how progress will be monitored, how results will be validated, and when reassessment should occur. On the exam, if a plan lacks details like responsibility, timing, or outcome targets, it is often considered incomplete or ineffective. CRISC professionals begin the treatment planning process by organizing and facilitating a structured working session with the risk owner and relevant stakeholders. The first step is to review the risk register entry together to ensure that the risk scenario is still accurate and fully understood. This includes reviewing the associated threat, vulnerability, impacted asset, and projected consequence. The session then explores existing controls to assess their effectiveness and identify any gaps. Treatment options are presented along with updated scoring models that estimate residual risk outcomes. The facilitator ensures the discussion stays aligned with enterprise appetite, feasibility constraints, and resource availability. This structured review and decision process ensures that planning does not happen in a vacuum. On the exam, if a scenario describes a plan developed without reviewing threat exposure or existing controls, the failure likely occurred in the setup phase. Correct answers always start with shared understanding and structured conversation. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Once the preferred treatment option is selected, the next step is to translate that choice into specific, measurable actions. Each action must be clearly defined, avoiding vague terms like improve controls or enhance security. Instead, actions might include deploying a specific tool, reconfiguring a firewall, updating a policy, conducting role-based training, or modifying a process step. These actions should be broken down into manageable milestones that can be monitored over time. Each milestone should have a target date and a designated person or team responsible. Breaking the treatment plan into steps allows progress tracking and makes dependencies or roadblocks easier to spot. On the exam, if a treatment plan fails because it contains generic tasks or no measurable criteria, it's often due to poor definition. Strong answers reflect specific, clear, and testable action planning. Assigning ownership is not limited to the risk owner alone. Each part of the plan must be assigned to someone with the authority and knowledge to carry it out. The risk owner maintains strategic oversight, makes escalation decisions, and approves adjustments. The control owner handles tactical execution, ensuring the action is completed as planned. Additional contributors may be needed, such as IT teams for configuration work, vendors for solution delivery, or training departments for awareness campaigns. CRISC professionals must also confirm that the necessary budget and resources have been allocated before the plan is finalized. Assignments must include names, roles, and target dates. If this step is skipped, confusion and delays are inevitable. On the exam, a missing control owner or an unapproved budget often signals a failure in this phase of planning. The best answers emphasize clear accountability and resource validation. All treatment plans must align with governance thresholds and risk tolerance levels. The goal is to bring the residual risk to within the organization's appetite. If the plan cannot do so, either because the cost is too high or because control effectiveness is limited, it must include an escalation or formal risk acceptance process. Plans that ignore appetite or that propose controls without considering their real-world impact create disconnects between operational actions and strategic expectations. CRISC professionals must ensure that treatment options meet compliance requirements and strategic goals, and that any exceptions are formally documented. On the exam, you may encounter questions about whether a plan is valid or complete. The strongest answer will align treatment to risk tolerance, show how it closes exposure, and include fallback options where mitigation is not feasible. Once the plan is defined, it must be entered into the risk register or governance platform. CRISC professionals work with risk owners to enter each treatment action, assign the responsible parties, and attach control references and test plans as applicable. Review dates and reassessment checkpoints must also be scheduled in the system. This formal entry ensures traceability, helps enable automated reminders, and creates a single source of truth for treatment tracking. GRC tools can help link related artifacts like control testing results, audit findings, or third-party assessments. On the exam, if a scenario describes confusion or duplicate effort, the root cause may be poor register integration. The correct answer will often involve ensuring that the treatment plan is recorded, linked, and assigned within the organization's governance tools. Monitoring the progress of the treatment plan is vital to ensure completion. CRISC professionals help define how that monitoring will occur through dashboards, status reviews, key control indicators, or project meetings. Progress must be evaluated not only by whether actions are completed, but also by whether they achieve the intended reduction in risk. Test results from implemented controls, operational metrics, and incident data all help validate effectiveness. Plans should be adjusted if milestones are missed, if new threats emerge, or if implementation does not produce the desired outcome. On the exam, if a treatment plan remains unchanged after a control fails or after a new incident occurs, that suggests a gap in monitoring. The best answers always include flexible reassessment and real-time adjustment protocols. Governance bodies rely on periodic updates to track risk treatment progress and to determine if further action is needed. CRISC professionals help prepare summary reports for risk committees, presenting treatment milestones, delays, residual risk estimates, and budget impacts. Risks that remain outside tolerance or that have not progressed must be escalated for attention. These updates must translate technical activities into business language, showing how each step supports continuity, compliance, or strategic goals. Documentation should be archived for future audits and compliance reviews. On the exam, treatment plans that go unreported or that fail to trigger escalation often signal a weak governance linkage. The best answers involve timely communication, business-aligned reporting, and transparency in risk decisions. Risk environments change, and treatment plans must be reassessed periodically. The plan should specify review triggers such as failed control testing, new vulnerabilities, project delays, or incidents involving related systems. Strategic changes, such as new products, system migrations, or mergers, may also require a fresh look at the plan. CRISC professionals guide risk owners through these reassessments, helping update scoring, actions, or ownership as needed. Risk management is not static. It evolves along with the organization. On the exam, when treatment plans are outdated or remain unchanged despite new risk data, the correct answer will involve structured reassessment and renewed stakeholder collaboration. On the CRISC exam, questions about risk treatment planning often ask what is missing, who is responsible, or what to do next. If a plan lacks a timeline, assigned owner, or residual risk estimate, it is incomplete. If treatment stalls, it may be due to poor ownership, missing budget, or unclear milestones. You may be asked who should develop the plan, and the correct answer is always the risk owner, with guidance from CRISC professional. If a scenario changes or a control fails, you must reassess the plan and update the documentation accordingly. The best exam answers reflect collaboration, specificity, governance alignment, and real-world feasibility. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber's CRISC Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.